All right, and here we go with another commentary for the LDCU. This time it's for Lego Suicide Squad and the Quest for the Holy Grail. Uh, Directed by me, GravityFilms4, and I'm also joined by my co-writer and sort of the producer for this picture, probably Josh.
Yay. Me.
Yeah. This was a very big project. I mean, this is a really big undertaking. It was my longest video, and as of today, my most popular, my most viewed video. So that was really, it's always really rewarding when that sort of thing happens, or you got a lot of, it gets a lot of attention and people seem to really like it. It was, but it was a very long time coming. Me and Josh would have probably started writing this in spring of 2023. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right. I would have been it was actually I was on spring break in the middle of my senior year of high school when we wrote it. And the crazy thing is, this is like not the first Suicide Squad pitch that me and Josh have come up with. This is like
That
the
was
second or
a
third one,
substitute.
really. Yeah. Really what had happened was we had signed on to do Suicide, or really Josh had signed on to do Suicide Squad for a different universe that we were part of. And we had come up with a different film actually like 2 universes ago. We were in a universe, we came up with an idea, and we left that universe, and we were in a different universe, the universe that this was originally made for, the Lego DC Nation. And we were going to do the original film that we had plotted out, but sort of what ended up happening is that it relied on a lot of characters, not to really spoil any, but characters that you might more commonly associate with the Suicide Squad. And at the time, just none of those characters were really established yet within the
Mm.
universe. And so we kind of created this film almost as a, just, because we wanted to do the film. And it was almost just a challenge of like, all right, we'll do a team. We'll just do a different team, and we kind of, I guess, would have assumed that it would have been a fairly C and D list team. Really, anytime we've tackled these characters, we've sort of pulled in some unknowns, even in the other film that I mentioned where we had some of the more A-list squad members.
Yeah, well, it's like
But
an hour
pretty,
of research on just like who's Big Sur and fucking Red
yeah,
Tool and all these random ass characters that we can
we just have
find.
a giant encyclopedia of like obscure DC villains that we want to use in the future. And pretty quickly we stumbled upon the pitch of like, what if everybody dies? Because sort of, I guess, the thing about the Suicide Squad is, they're expendable, and so we wanted to make a film where they really feel expendable. But that was, so that was really sort of where this was born. That's all I've really got for our opening statements here, Josh. You want to add anything else, or otherwise we'll get started.
Uh, yeah, I think doing this one was interesting because it was almost like it's like when they say like, oh, you've got to do one for the studio before you can like do the one that you actually want to do. It's essentially what this was born out of. But we still found a way to kind of like have an interesting idea for it because the one that we initially had planned, well, Suicide Squad has just kind of been a thing that's been bouncing back and forth with me for a while specifically because in the old original universe that we had done that for, I have multiple like pitches for Suicide Squad that had basically hadn't really gotten off the ground. And then I was planning on doing Suicide Squad for the universe that this was originally in. And then things kind of fell into place where we were like, okay, we want to do one, but the characters aren't set up. So then we went and we made this. And I think it was a pretty happy accident because originally it was kind of just like, oh, we'll just do this one in the meantime while we wait to kind of like hold us over on our Suicide Squad fix. Because we had been holding in like a really good plot idea for a story for like, just for a while. And we were already talking about like we could do more Suicide Squad for this or the other. And I think it's fun that we actually got to do that and like go in and make one, especially where the pitch is like, what if everyone at the Suicide Squad died?
Yeah, I mean, I think happy accident is a good way to describe it because I mean, yeah, it was something that was sort of to be made in the meantime, sort of part of a larger story. I mean, we were actually talking about our plans for the future installments because there will be in future installments. Um, Earlier today, and Josh sort of described this film as number zero, and it's very much like kind of selling you on the concept of what the squad is, sort of who what our vibe is. Um, but yeah, it was I mean it was definitely a unique one. Um, so without further ado, well, we'll actually get this ball rolling. So I'm gonna hit play.
A lot of stories to tell about this.
Oh yeah, this is a very very involved production, very drawn out. We did put a warning here because I mean we were kind of like at least I was kind of concerned with how this film was going to be taken
Oh yeah.
because it's very different from anything I've done before. I've never done something that's like a straight out comedy. So that alone was kind of intimidating to do something that was like strictly, explicitly trying to be funny. And, even more than that, this is a very like dark, sort of a black comedy. It's very like, very, 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 dark. It's much more mature than some of my other stuff. It harps on a lot of, sort of taboo subjects. I mean, and there's obviously stuff with like literal suicides. So we wanted to put a little bit of a disclaimer on here.
Yeah.
Also, like I kind of described it as like,
offended.
yeah. I mean, you kind of always have that. I did purposely kind of like use because the thing is, I also thought that I thought that that by putting the warning, it kind of added to the like.
Oh, I wanted to note something here.
Absurdity.
I really
I'm actually
like
gonna pause it here. We're gonna kind of pause it
Yeah.
if we want to like hit on certain details.
Because we already have stories to tell about this, because there's a lot.
Yeah,
this,
but
this
just
was
real quick,
took a while.
But real quick, the warning in and of itself is also kind of a joke because I think we say like graphic violence and like
Right.
obscene, and it's just
But
like
it's
that's
like
sort of
later figures.
it's almost like preparing you for like what the stupid shit you're about to watch. But
Right.
this intro sequence is made by Flash Lego Productions, and the bullet stuff that happens in a little bit is like sort of an homage to the John
Yeah.
Ostrander Suicide Squad logo, and it's very Indiana Jones inspired. You might know.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
because the whole opening has the Indiana Jones music and then it was like Quest for the Holy Grail. That was what was like, because I think there was a thing too where we had talked about doing a joke where you would have gotten like the Indiana Jones like travel sequence when they like were
Yes.
like traveling at points. Because we were like, this is funny. Because what we kind of realized as like in the first 3 of the films that we have planned, because there are more Suicide Squad films planned, we had realized that a lot of it was like kind of Steven Spielberg. Like you could kind of equate them to Steven Spielberg movies.
Yeah.
So we thought
And
it'd
that
be
they're
fun
very
to
different
use
genre wise. They have very different subject matters
Yeah.
or like plot.
And even too, the eagle-eyed viewer might notice, if you look at the original trailer for Suicide Squad, I don't voice Rick Flag in that trailer. I wasn't originally voicing Rick Flag.
Yeah.
For this, it was someone else. It was Logan. Or I guess, I don't know if people know that, Toonski Animations. He was originally voicing.
Yeah, he was originally
Rick Flag.
voicing and didn't really pan out. And so Josh ended up coming in as a substitute, and
I did all of the
he
lines
did a
while
good
I
job.
was sick.
Yeah,
That's
he
why
did do the
it sounded
lines
like
by
that.
sick, so it's I'm sure he's bound to sound a little different in the sequel, but that's how it is. But all right, yeah, I'm gonna press play again.
All right.
And here we go. Like I said, John Ostrander reference here with the bullet holes in the. And then kind of here you get your sort of like almost like a sort of a calm before the storm sort of moment where it's a very very sort of simple thing. You just got a guy reading the newspaper here.
This is like the first thing you filmed.
Yeah, this was the very first thing I filmed. Would have been filmed pretty shortly after we wrote the thing. I was so excited to film this when we finished writing it. Like I really wanted to start, but the thing is I had to wait because I had to buy the figures. And so I was like just waiting for the figures to come in. But I did have Rick Flag and Waller, so I went ahead and filmed some of these opening scenes. But this film definitely had like a budget. Like I mean I probably put I put about like $80 into just the squad alone, like getting all those figures. So.
Right.
And then I bought a bunch of soldiers and a whole bunch of stuff. And you gotta get your explanation here. We didn't want to go too like I don't know in depth with it because it's like you kind of know the premise of the Suicide Squad, just sort of in and out. I'll also note that this music that's playing here comes from Kill Bill. But actually, the original inspiration from it was from because I had the idea to use this music, and originally it came from Team America, which is also where the inspiration from where I kind of got a lot of the character of not Peacemaker, Major Victory.
I don't know if a lot of people caught this too. Codename Assassin is in Green Arrow.
Yes.
That's why we brought him over. Gage voices Codename Assassin in the Green Arrow show, and that there's like a whole thing with that. I don't think anyone caught that, but I always thought that was like a fun connection.
Yeah, and also a little thing, when she says Catman's name, we came up with a sort of a different Catman, because Catman's obviously a real character, and Josh wanted to use him in Batman, so we, knowing that he would have died, we kind of created a new one. And his name is Bill Jim Finger Mooney, which is obviously a absurd name. It's the combined name of the writer and artist that made him.
Yeah, Bill Finger Jim Mooney. We just kind of. It's a trick we've done before, but I just thought it'd be kind of absurd to do that in this way.
This joke here with Major Victory kind of came because originally when we were making this for the LDCN, there was a guy who was making a Peacemaker project for the LDCN, and he wanted to sort of have us include Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad, but he wanted to do sequels, and obviously all these characters were going to die, so we were kind of like, well, we're kind of killing everybody in here, so we kind of had this guy
bit
who
right here
obviously
was
we
not in the script either. This whole
Yeah.
leadership, like there's a few things that were not in the script that got added in during editing.
Yeah.
But just like that's just the same leadership line that he said earlier, just redone again.
Sending the disenfranchised to do their dirty work.
Yeah, we thought we should also probably shout out Crisis Studios, who got us in touch with Forest Fire. We kind of wrote this character with Forest in mind.
Yeah.
And I sent him an email, and then he didn't respond to it. And so I was kind of like, oh man, like we kind of wrote this role for him, and now it's like he's not going to respond. And we had our good friend Airborne Productions record. We were like, all right, well, he agreed to be Major Victory, and he actually recorded all the lines. So I actually have this could have sounded very differently. I have eventually though we were able to get in contact with Forrest, and he agreed to do it. I don't know if he's seen it. I did send it to him, but I don't know if he's actually seen the film.
I've got no idea. I hope he has.
He's got some pretty crazy lines.
Yeah. I also like this drawn on like fuck the establishment.
Yeah, I don't quite. I mean, this is like not a part of her character. We took some creative liberties with these characters, and like I don't know if it was just a mohawk, but I kind of just saw her character and I was like, all right, because we knew we were gonna make Major Victory like a very patriotic, sort of guy, and so I was like, well, very conservative. So I was like, well, on the opposite, we'll have the like sort of really liberal like sort of. So and that's where the shirt came from. And you'll notice that when it switches over to the desert scenes, I didn't think that pencil looked very nice, so I went over with a pen and colored it in with black.
Yes.
I think. Oh yeah.
I'm actually gonna pause it real quick because there's a lot of stuff I'm gonna pause it. There's a lot of things. There's one thing I feel like we should point out. I'll wait to point out later, but one thing this upcoming joke about the kilometers and the dick is something that is it's a conversation that really happened. There's several jokes in here that like we basically wrote this in a call, sort of so we could kind of get constant feedback. Everybody was on spring break, so our friends were always on call, and so we were kind of constantly like reading through it and sort of throwing lines at people to sort of make sure it was like sort of funny and actually like sounded good. This whole like exchange about kilometers was just like an actual exchange. Like someone was like, how much is a kilometer? And someone was like, "I like, are you stupid?" And then yeah,
This was
Josh
this
like,
whole
"I
back
don't."
and forth was real. I actually did not. Because it was, we were literally writing it, and it was like Gage had written down the line of like, oh, like these a few kilometers or clicks or whatever. And I was like, what is a kilometer? I actually don't know. So it's like, are you fucking stupid? It's what it is. And it's literally, it is like almost bar for bar exactly that
Yeah.
conversation is in this. And there's other stuff like that too, yeah.
Yeah, that like I said, this. So that's what I was kind of meaning. Where I was like, I was kind of nervous about how this was going to be recepted because it was just a type of humor I'd never really done before.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit play here.
Military jargon for a kilometer. Anyways, I think we should.
Yeah, there's you can actually kind of see that the pin's smeared a little bit on that torso. I still have it actually. I still have that decal sitting on my lamp for some reason.
No, yeah.
Yeah, what's a kilometer?
You don't know what a kilometer is?
Man, some of these establishing shots were such pains to animate though, because it's like 10 characters just all walking. It took forever.
Because there's that one point where you like got sick of animating the walking, so you just like threw it a line and your flag was like, let's stop here.
Yeah, originally when the scene where Catman dies, they were supposed, that whole like stuff was supposed to be like where they were all walking through the desert, and I was just like, I can't.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like,
It was taking so long, and I was trying to figure out a way if I could, because it also takes up a lot of space. So I was trying to find a way to have them like walk in place, but it looks like they're moving forward, even though they're not actually making new ground. Didn't really work out though.
But what disguises are you talking about?
You guys you don't have your disguises.
Where were we supposed to get disguises?
It was in the pamphlet. Did you not read?
I think I'm like the only person who thought this joke was funny.
They were in the
I like the pamphlet jokes, yeah.
mission itinerary on them. There were disguises under.
Potentially underappreciated gag. Someone did comment that they liked some of the jokes that kind of came back.
Yeah.
This bit right here with Multiplex Man was
Okay.
Multiplex Man was going to be very different. We did not initially have the idea that him and Codename Assassin were going to be romantically involved. He was initially going to be kind of played as like a straight man.
Yeah.
So he like, whereas everybody else is totally insane and weird and kooky, he was going to be like, just kind of the straight guy, the normal guy.
Yeah, except he
It was sort of
always
just
wore
always
his...
following
There's like a
him.
visual gag here where he's wearing his mask.
Yeah.
The idea would have been that he never takes off his mask. And I don't know if anyone picked up on that in the scene. I just thought that was funny when we had made that decision for his character. We were going to make him really understated, and we were like, he'll have all the disguises, and he's always prepared and stuff, but he's always going to wear the mask.
Seems a bit excessive.
Now this scene was... Can we
Here's
pause
another
it?
moment where I was just, I'll pause it. Here's another moment where I was wanting to die animating all these dudes walking. But yeah, there's a joke coming up that we'll have to talk about, so I'm going to pause in a sec.
Yeah.
I'll just pause it now. So there's a joke coming up, right? And so I talked a little second ago how we thought it'd be funny to have two sides. We have the sort of conservative and we had the sort of the more liberal character. And one thing we were kind of worried about is, because me and Josh are both kind of more left-leaning people, and we were kind of because here's the thing, right? We came up with a squad, and then we put them into a random generator, and so the order that was how we decided in what order the characters would die. Is we put their names into a random generator, and just that was how it was decided. And so by coincidence, Mindbogger was the first one to go, but then we kind of ran into this issue where we didn't want it to seem like we were punching down, or like we didn't want that's why in the beginning it's like the thoughts and opinions expressed by the characters don't represent the thoughts and opinions expressed by the writers, is because we didn't want people to like look at this and be like, think we're some like right-leaning nuts.
Yeah, that had been like a...
There was
like an issue.
There was actually originally this joke coming up where she says I, they, them pronouns, or they say that. There was supposed to be it was supposed to be kind of a visual thing where there was, when it cuts to a bathroom, it was going to be like a panning shot, and there would have been a men's restroom, and all the guy members would have come out, and then there was going to be a women's restroom, and all the female members would have come out, and then there was going to be a non-binary restroom, and Mindboggler would have walked out. And that's when Major Victory would have made the comment that he makes in a bit. But like I said, we felt like that was kind of
like
towing the line a little too, really more crossing the line. And it felt a little bit more like actually punching down and didn't necessarily feel as, because it's already a touchy thing and we didn't want to be disrespectful about it.
It's like,
so we kind of figured it would be better if we were to portray them in the way we
did. This one, the thing about it is that, and I'll end here. I want to say this to kind of like set the record straight in a sense. Like, I think there was a lot of people who watched this one, and we knew this before we made it because we had talked about this because it was in production, filming. We had written it, it was in filming production. We were getting lines back, feedback, and all this stuff. So we had ample time to think about what was in this, and so
the production took about a year.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to be like we were oblivious to anything that could possibly have happened, or people could, saying something. It was difficult because some of the jokes, I don't know, maybe I'll look back on this in like 2 years and I'll be like, maybe we shouldn't have made some of those jokes. Maybe I'll look back on this and, because I know that there is like someone that we know personally had a friend who had seen the video and then they stopped it when they got to the part where Major Victory makes the joke about, like walking in the desert. And so that is something that I want to be clear about is that it's not like Major Victory, especially as like a fan favorite character, because he's so like, he's so like kind of irreverent. If you agree with
something
Major
we kind of
Victory,
knew would happen.
It's like we're making fun of him. Like I don't want there to be any like sort of like, oh, maybe they think this or like when we do the jokes with Mark Chariot and Volcano or with Codian Assassin and Multiplex Man, none of those are like, it's not funny because like it's a gay relationship or like, the Major Victory stuff is like funny because it's true. It's funny because we're like on the side of the relationships, it was funny because it was like literally Gage had watched Top Gun and he was like, it's really stupid that this music plays every time a character falls in love. It's like plays like every 10 minutes. And then with Major Victory, the way that I always viewed it was like, I think a lot of audience members laughed with Major Victory. When we were writing it, we were more laughing at him. I think it was more of like it's really irreverent and funny that someone would say something like this because they just have no border, no boundary, and no like real perception of like the world. Like, and you see that in the scene later and when they're in the train when he's like, I'll never forgive them. I've swore off all Japanese media ever since Pearl Harbor. And then Rick's like, you weren't alive for Pearl Harbor. And he's like, but the pain never goes away. And it's just like jokes like that were born out of this like absurdist, overly patriotic ideal. And there was even, you can talk about this more, but there was for a second, we were like, we want to bring Major Victory back or even do a prequel with Major Victory about the 4th of July, where he kind of learned about, the government and he kind of has this like shell shock realization that maybe the government isn't as great as he thought it was.
Yeah, because even though Major Victory is a totally absurd character and not a good guy, he is also very fun to write. And it's like I said, we kind of knew that people were going to latch on to Major Victory because we had latched on to Major Victory. I mean, he was my favorite character to write, but we were afraid that people were going to, like I said, just sort of misinterpret how we saw him. And so, but yeah, there was in the comics, Major Victory is a part of a team called the 4th of July, who are a team of equally patriotic and absurd characters. And so we had talked about, like doing a spinoff where they had like a base in the Statue of Liberty and all this stuff, but never really came through. It felt better to just, it made more sense with sort of how the ending was to go that he stay dead.
Right.
But I think we got all the big stuff out of the way, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit player.
Harriet, Multiplex Man, hide in a car. Crazy Quilt, Catman, Sportsman.
Oh, there's like another real joke coming up.
Codename Assassin. Come on, man. We just went over this.
Right. Sorry. Codename Assassin. You, Major Victory, Mindboggler, and I will hide in another.
What? You mean I have to buddy up with little Miss Neo-Nazi over here?
My pronouns are they, them, jackass.
Oh, another hopeless child lost to the delusions of the socialist elite. It sickens me. Puh!
Find a hole,
Oh yeah,
I used sticky tack for that spit just there.
break your
the
legs,
spit thing. I think that was like a thing from like Santa Claus.
slowly.
Whoa.
Yeah, once we kind of had landed on like Forrest doing this line or this character,
Mindboggler, you
some of like how I was sort of thinking of his Santa Claus character. He did a video, and his Santa Claus, just everything he says is so serious and just so like it's so rigid,
he
and I
takes
thought it'd be
himself
like
so
such a
serious.
good energy to bring to Major Victory.
Yeah, even in that joke right there too, where Mindbogger's like jump in a hole, break your legs, and die slowly. It's something I've actually said. It's something I said while we were
Jokingly,
in the car writing
but-
this, and
Yeah,
that
but
was,
that was a real.
most everyone's real reaction was
Every once in a while, someone would say something where we'd be like, "That's going in."
write that down. Write that down.
Even if it is real, I'm sure they don't want us to just destroy it. Think about it. All that potential power, I'm sure they'd want it for themselves.
Oh yeah, this got really
Yeah.
topical.
That's
Yeah,
Upon
someone made a
release.
joke when she says Israel. It sounds like Israel, and hearing it just now made me think. There's a bit earlier where she talks about Palestine.
Right.
We wrote this a while before that conflict happened, or really blew up in the way that it did.
Yeah, I mean, it's been
Because
going on
obviously,
for
if you're just
70
you
years.
sort of know about that historically, it's an issue that's been happening, but it blew up obviously with Russia's invasion. So yeah, it got a little unfortunately topical in the year that it took to make this project.
Yeah. It was like, because the thing is, too, is that, like, originally when we wrote the line, it was like, I mean, because politically, I would say we're probably more aligned with, like, Mindboggler in this than it, like someone like Major Victory is like,
Yeah, the idea was to
I
have
hate-
her like bring something up to sort of criticize the government, be like sort of as like a gotcha,
Right,
like, oh, what do you
like,
think about this?
kind of like
And that was
sneaking
just the
in
first
like a
thing we
real
thought
government critique in there.
Yeah, I take it that's something pretty.
You also kind of mentioned earlier the take my breath away thing. I watched Top Gun, and that song was made for Top Gun as sort of like the love theme. And there's like a bit in that movie where like they use it anytime like a romantic moment happens, and there's like one segment of the film. It's like a 10-minute segment where the song plays, and it's just the same like little like bit of the song every time. Overall, it plays like 4 times in 10 minutes or something ridiculous like that. And I don't know. I really latched onto that. I thought it was really funny, and that was kind of the basis of sort of this relationship.
This is the infamous
Yeah, this thing.
crazy quote is a pedophile.
I still don't quite know how well this joke lands.
right,
The implication is that he's like a pedophile,
right.
and he was a teacher. I don't know.
I don't know if
I
ever,
don't
like. I feel like people might have
quite
like
know how
tuned out
well.
a little bit.
I was showing it to someone, and when it got to this, and he was giving his whole tragic backstory, someone was like, "Hell yeah, me too, relatable." And I was like, "No, no, no, no,
No, it's a pedophile.
That's not. No, it's not."
Yeah, that's the thing is that sometimes the jokes are a little bit understated because me and Gage kind of have like a drier sense of humor, which is like more apparent in something like Spider-Man,
Yeah.
where it's like you're kind of looking out for it. But in something like this, where it was like all of the jokes are really in your face, I guess the audience wasn't really expecting to have to like think about the joke, you know?
Yeah.
So there are some jokes that are a little bit understated, which is stuff that I find funny.
Yeah, I think it works though because it's kind of like you have more obvious jokes and you have more subtle stuff that I feel like it's kind of got something for everybody.
Right.
I do like this joke though with the Pearl Harbor thing. That was something
yeah,
I
this
had
is
in
a
my head
great
for
joke.
a while. I feel like it's also worth noting that while we did come up with the idea for March Harriet and Volcana to be romantically involved pretty early on, that was not the case for Codename Assassin and Multiplex Man. The thing that happened is, as I mentioned, we sort of already had the order figured out, and we knew that Volcana was going to die very early. And so we knew that they weren't going to actually have that much time to develop a relationship. And so sort of from that and really wanting to continue the the take my breath away joke, we kind of came up with the idea to have another pair
Right.
get together.
I remember.
But I think
you
it kind of makes a
writing
nice
this.
parallel. This is, yeah, all these action scenes were so much fun to end. Also, for those wondering, the blood in this scene is red food coloring.
Oh, this right here.
Very, very
Heated
fucking
wine.
messy.
Heated-
Yeah, originally he was supposed to say, oh fuck, when he once,
Yeah.
and Jonah just did a bunch of different takes, and they all got increasingly, like, more like, like alarming sounding, so I just put them all together.
Right.
We've got a bit of company.
I think if if there's anyone who deserved it the most, it was definitely Crazy Quilt.
Yeah.
That is the thing, is that some
I'm a
of these
big-
characters, probably most of them, deserved to die. But
Have you ever seen the Studio Ghibli?
that's not what the story's about. So
What's your favorite? I'm a Spirited Away fan.
I put a lot of, I mean, this video was really breaking new grounds for me in terms of animation. I feel like I've always been someone that's kind of avoided fight scenes and really didn't quite know how to tackle them, but I really had to, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone with this one, and so I put a lot of time and effort into these fight scenes, and I'm very happy with how that they all turned out, especially the final one.
But it went back to normal by the end. And like, there's
Josh took the head on writing this whole little anime discussion.
it's like Eagle Eye
I know
viewers. will
I know
find
nothing
some-
about anime. I don't watch anime. I'm not a very big fan. So
There's a lot of the jokes in that scene are just like, have you seen this anime? Yeah. There's incest in that, right? It's like, yeah.
I had this in my head for a while. This Team America theme. This fight scene took 3 days to animate. I remember, and like I remember I was on summer break, and I would literally just like, and for some reason my school got out. I think it was just because I was a senior that I got out of school earlier than my sister, and my mom's a teacher, so she was also working in school. My dad has a full-time job as well, so everyone was out of the house except me, and so I'd wake up at like 10 a.m. and literally just go to like 10 at night just animating. I mean, obviously taking breaks to eat and stuff like that, but this one took me 3 days to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell happened here?
Yeah. You'll notice that there's like
Finest flag.
there's 2 moments when, Major Victory has to like kind of cap off a scene saying something like funny or like a line. Like there's later when he's like, drain on this. And at both of those times we were like, we should have a moment here that's funny. Or like where he said something cool to look at, like, to bookend this like moment.
We have to go now.
In the case of the second of like the thing where he says drain on this, I remember just being like, Josh, do a one-liner here. Come up
Yeah.
with something.
We were like, we were always like, okay, we need to figure out like what his one-liner is gonna be, and it always just ends up being the last thing said, like in the America fuck yeah scene, it was just like, let's stop saying that. And then on the drain on this scene, we could not think of, it was like late, it was like maybe 11 or 12, we were getting to the end of the script, and we were like, been writing all day, or just like could not think of what to do. So we were just like, just have him say drain on this.
Codename :assassin.
This joke here too, I think, is understated but funny. He's using the pamphlet from earlier to cross
Yeah.
off the names.
Presents?
Harriet.
Here.
I don't know. I think I'm the only person
Skinhead's dead.
who ever cared about that.
You'll also notice that Major Victory says present instead of being like here, like, because he's kind of a tight ass.
Yeah.
Sports.
And and chapter 2 is called Amblin.
Dead.
Yeah, which is a Spielberg reference. He made his like first short film that like kind of got him into the industry was a short film called Amblin. So
Estimate we're only a few
it was about
miles
hitchhikers in the desert. So it seemed applicable
You're
here.
kidding. Walk through the desert? What are you, Jewish?
Hard part there.
Like I said, another bit where they're all walking together, and you'll notice in this one they're all like synced up, like they all have the exact same cycle, and they're all on this because it was just it was easier to take care of. And this whole scene was meant to happen while they were walking, but I couldn't quite figure out how to go about that. So
That's the moment where they decided that this was the continuation of the Take My Breath Away joke.
yeah,
Oh. Well, let me help you. No, it's okay. I can manage. I don't need any help.
I'm very happy with the voice acting for a lot of these characters. These two particularly were very like melodramatic and very like over dramatic as well. It's
Right.
very fun.
There were some people too who were like, why gay? Why so many gay characters? It's like, who cares? Like,
Yeah, there was a little bit. I had a comment with someone doing that, and that's why this is like kind of a funny film, and that it's you have a character like Major Victory who's like so not politically correct, but this is also like kind of a progressive film, and that it's got like a lot of diversity in it.
right.
Flag, the pussy pal over here isn't looking too good.
Pamphlet joke returns.
Catman.
There's 3 pamphlet jokes. We thought it was funny, guys.
Catman.
Yeah.
Just take a few deep breaths, okay?
I was really happy with
Waller?
Nathaniel
Got a
Henley's
problem.
performance in this too. I thought he was a great addition.
What the fuck? Get him off!
You'll notice he meows there. That was not in the script. That was just something that Nathaniel Henley just recorded, and I thought it was funny. So there's a bit earlier where he just says meow, and he like did an actual one later, and I thought that was funny.
We reference this joke a lot just in our day-to-day.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, whenever we're like playing a game, if someone dies, sometimes someone just gotta unload a clip on like the floor. Just be like, he's dead. Because I think there's a take that he did where he just sounded really sad.
Going to the big
He was
dark
like,
ball in the sky.
he's dead. And it was like, it was just
Yeah, and then
really
right after
funny.
he did one where he was like, "He's dead," and like yelled it.
I'm still
Right.
in charge here, and I will not hesitate to eliminate
This stuff
any
was also
should you
part of
step
that
out
batch that
line.
got filmed first. All this Waller stuff.
Yeah.
The looming threat of Waller.
Hey.
Yeah, you always gotta have one that gets their head blown off,
Yeah.
or 2 in this case. But we'll talk about that one in a bit.
Are you alright? What happened? The supply train never came through.
We're also getting close to where I took a break from production. As I mentioned, this took about a year to make, but a lot of that was because I went to college. I mentioned that production really ramped up in the summer of 2023, and then in the fall I went to school, and I had gotten to the very final fight scene, but that set was just so big that I couldn't properly transport it in one piece, and I was afraid that if I took it apart, I wouldn't remember how to put it back together.
Oh yeah.
It was also just like it was put together in a way that it was like it wasn't meant to be taken away apart.
Yeah,
Like it
you
would have
couldn't
been such
move
a
that
pain,
set.
so I
That's
just kind of
huge.
had to. I ended up having to just be like, all right, well, I'll come back to it.
Camera switch.
Right here,
That's
we also
C920.
transition to a webcam. Yeah, the rest of this film is shot on a Logitech C920, mainly just because Stop Motion Studios was giving me getting to be a real pain. There was a lot of glitches I was having on issues, and also, when we get into the fight scene, I just I knew it was going to be so like demanding and just like the iPhone, while better than an iPad, which is what I first started out using, I knew it was going to be, I wanted to have a lot of freedom with it, and the webcam does offer that. It might not necessarily be as high quality, but you get a lot of versatility in what you can do.
Yeah.
And so in the long run, it just ended up being it felt like a worthwhile trade-off. And so some of this footage does look a little rough. This is not, I think it looks acceptable, but I think some of it you can tell that it was definitely my first time trying it out.
Yeah, I think it pays off though, because it's you get this nice transition between when the film is really funny at its like peak of the comedy, and then it gets really serious.
Yeah, I told Josh when we were writing this that I wanted this moment before the chapter 3 starts, that this, you know, was kind of, this is the end. This is like, all right, from here, this is, you know, it sort of takes a tonal shift.
Yeah. I was gonna say earlier too, originally it wasn't supposed to be Rick Flag who runs up to the guys at the door. It was going to be Sportsmaster, and Sportsmaster was going to die there originally, instead of how he dies later in this scene. And the original idea for his death was basically that he would have, like, they would have been watching him and coaching him through it as he like went up to like in disguise, or, you know, whatever, to like go take out the guards. And there was supposed to be like a bunch of them at that door guarding it. And he would have ran up on them, and then he would have heard over the comms while the squad was like kind of sitting back looking at it. And he'd be like, oh, they got me. Oh my God, they're coming on me. Oh no. You know,
Yeah.
and that was the original idea, but we did not end up going with that.
I take it you were expecting us.
I figured it was only a matter of time before the U.S. sent someone over to stop us. I wasn't expecting it to.
This was not the original head for Lynch either.
Yeah, I originally opted for a Lego Star Wars Clone Wars head. Not the one that... it was the
like
Anakin Skywalker head from the
Clone
Wars.
Anakin Skywalker head.
It was much more absurd.
Blue eyes.
I was really wanting to use it, but Josh talked me out of it.
I was
because
like, no,
he's such a
it's
menacing
so
guy that it's like, yeah, it's like, you gotta... yeah, here's another crazy joke. But we wanted to make sure he was actually
there's a cut
taken
here.
seriously.
So the thing too is that I was the
Well,
one
I'll
who
pause
made the
I'll
joke
pause real
where
quick
he
so
was-
we can...
Yeah.
I'll pause so we can... Yeah.
So I'll be clear about it. I guess two things. One, I'm black. A lot of people don't know that. I've been told I sound like a 40-year-old white man. So I made that joke. I was the one who thought that was funny. I hope this doesn't like pile me in with like a Candace Owens crowd, where they're like, you know, those people who like go and like comments and they're like, I'm black and I thought this was funny or whatever. Not that.
Yeah.
But like, you know, no one else read that joke. I think that was the joke that got the most people, like in terms of just like pure shock value.
Well, when Forrest read the line, the first take he did, I think he like saw John Lynch, like I think he thought that he was like talking to Lynch, the character. So when the first take he did, he like yelled the line. He was like, Lynch? Well, and then like after he said it, there was like 30 seconds where he just didn't say anything. I think he was like, because, you know, like the rest of the lines he had edited through, so it was just like, you know, bam, 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 like, you know, one after another. There wasn't really breaks.
Right.
And that one had like a pause, like he was like,
because originally too,
but
you animated a bit there. We had talked about there being a bit where it would have cut over to the soldier, who like the only black soldier there, and he would have like poked out from the crowd, and he would have been like, he had this like scared expression, and that would have just been like a quick cutaway gag. I opted out of it. Like it's filmed, like technically the footage exists, so
yeah,
consider that Suicide Squad lost media. But
well, we kind of like when we wrote it, we were kind of like, I don't know, this might kind of be in that territory where like it feels like it's punching down. It might be too much. And they're like, well, we'll keep it in, you know, we'll film it. We'll figure out what we want to do with it when we get to the editing room. And yeah, like Josh said, we opted to get it out just because it felt like you were getting it was sort of like, we didn't want it to be a thing where you're like, oh, we're laughing with Major Victory. It was like, it felt like a little bit getting too close into that territory. It was kind of wanted to avoid. I'm gonna go ahead and hit play now.
Oh, indeed it is. I plan to have it shipped right alongside your body bags.
This was very like fun to film though, because I mean, you know, just like I said, it'd been a year. It's been a long time coming, so this was very like this whole fight scene was just very like sort of very difficult, but also sort of cathartic to film in the same way.
Checkmate, Lynch.
Someone get the backup generator on.
Oh, I remember the filming process.
Yeah, an interesting little note when this little like backup generator comes on. The way I got the sliding effect is I took a brick light. There are companies that will put little lights in Lego bricks, and so I got one of those, and I just took some sticky tack and I literally like stuck it to my camera, so it's like literally just sort of hanging above like a headlamp, lighting the scene.
Just want you to know. This could have gone
And I really like it, you know, because it kind of reflects. And you can kind of see in the background there's like little dots and stuff where it's like creating these little effects. It was really nice. I really like these shots.
Oh yeah.
And here we go, you know, really getting into the main stuff. I had this music number in my head for so long. It was a song I heard in the beginning of my senior year for the first time. I had a friend who put it on one night when we were out. And it seemed to fit the vibe. And when we got here, I don't know, it seemed right. So I put it in. This was the song I listened to for a good few months. Just on repeat. Because it's animated to the song. Some of the music beats kind of line up.
Yeah. The thing too here to note is that John Lynch is like John Lynch is like not a DC character technically. Well, like he's like a Wildstorm character. I don't even know how we ended up getting him in. I think we were just looking for like who runs Checkmate or whatever, because neither of us had read the Checkmate like series or knew much about them really. So
yeah, he was kind of just a name,
looking for someone.
And we needed him. More importantly, we needed him to be sort of disposable.
Right.
So yeah, here we go. Here's the squad cutting loose. One thing I kind of want to point out is that you'll notice that all the people that Major Victory is beating up are like people of color. He beats up a woman. It's sort of a little, I guess a critique of patriotism, I suppose, and sort of like who it really affects and like, you know, that sort of stuff. Again, I can't say how much I want to express. Major Victory is not a character you're supposed to align yourself with.
I thought this was funny here, where he like uses his like tennis racket as like a shield.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just like Major Victory at the end of the day, he's a bigot. You know, he's a racist, he's sexist, he's anti-Semitic, he's all of the things. He's just like about the worst you can get. And so everything he does is not something that we condone.
This is where I returned for a little bit. I filmed everything up until the fight scene broke out. Oh, and then I filmed a little bit of the action before summer ended. And then I went away. And when I came back for Thanksgiving break, and I animated some of this. You can kind of tell. It looks, because I've been doing other animation at my college dorm for a different project. It was actually my Fantastic Four episode that's now, me and Josh also wrote, that's been scrapped. But you can kind of tell the lighting is a little bit different now. It looks a little bit cleaner as I'd gotten a little bit more used to it. But somewhere around here, I also went away, and then I would have come back for Christmas break and finally finished it off.
How the fuck are you still alive?
So like I said, even though this took a year to make, really, it should have only taken about 6 months.
All I know is, if
Oh,
I
yeah.
made it this far, I should make
And
it
this was a nice set too. This was like,
the lucky one.
I remember seeing this like the whole thing for the first time.
Oh yeah, it was a very big set. I mean, it took like a lot of my just Lego to build, and taking it apart was it was a lot to sort back through.
I think this like ran you out of gray bricks. Like you didn't have any
Yeah,
more
it did.
cave bricks or gray bricks and stuff like that.
You get a much a sort of comparatively more quiet moment. I kind of like doing this with these. A lot of the squad gets their kind of quieter, simpler moments as they're dying.
Right.
Um,
Because like we said earlier,
Except
we
Major
take it more
Victory.
seriously towards the end.
yeah.
fighting when we both know how this is going to end. At least you'll get to see the old Major again, right?
I still got a few loose ends to tie up before then.
Something that's probably interesting to, or would be funny to note, is that in a minute when these two die and they get their montage and Take My Breath Away plays, the original idea is that Take My Breath Away was going to play and it would have been the lyric, you would have gotten the actual lyrics, but the plan was to have me and Flashlight Productions, who we play these characters, the idea was to have us sing the song and put it over. So it would be like Multiplex Man and Codename Assassin singing it to each other. And we did record it. It does exist. It's more a little like stuff that just, got made but doesn't really end up getting put in. It just, I don't know. I listened back to it, and I had some people who really wanted to see it. Like I'd tell people what it was supposed to be, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, you should have put that in." But I just kind of felt like it was like too hard to take seriously. Like it almost like hurt the moment.
Right.
I'm also a god awful singer, and I wasn't too eager to have that out. But
Suicide Squad lost media.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if we get like a Kosh type hashtag, where it's like, where's JLA Part 4? But like, where's the
because someone jokingly was like, "Oh, we need like a director's cut." This is the director's cut. There is, I guess you could say, there was an extended cut, but it would be worse. It would not be as good.
No, I think that's the thing. Is like, when stuff gets cut out of a movie, it's not because it would make it better.
There were things I would fix in this in hindsight, but the things I was taking out at the time, I feel fine in that choice. I like this idea too of soldiers using the stuff against Sportsmaster as own equipment. You'll also notice that thug that he just beat the shit out of is the guy that's ultimately going to basically kill him with the baseball bat. Here he is. I don't necessarily know where the idea came from to have him shoot himself.
It was in the original idea when he was getting jumped. We thought he could kill himself, and then we thought that might be too dark. And then once we started actually getting towards the end, and it did start to get more serious, we had debated the idea of having him still kill himself. And then we ultimately decided on that being the ending for his character.
That final line there too, "balls in their court," that was something that Crisis Studios, who voices Sportsmaster, came up with.
Yeah.
That was his little one-liner there.
These white flashes, I really enjoyed them. Because originally they weren't there in the original animation, and then I was like, because he was animating this on,
Just like your old man.
We both chimp off of his Dragonframe 5 now. But at the time, he was using Sound Machine Studio. And so I was like, what would it look like if you put some white frames there? Like how they do in, like, cartoons for censorship. But I'm a really big fan of that. And I thought it looked really good.
You also notice here that you hear like Lynch like grunting and stuff. I had a lot of people do that because I thought it was gonna be a really like good thing to like add to because I spent a lot of time with the sound design in this film, but ultimately it just ended up being like such a pain to edit in that I ended up not really doing it all that much. There's like a couple instances where you hear them like grunting in real time and stuff, but ultimately I opted not to do that. Make that the standard. This whole thing with Waller blowing up Major Victory's head, it's also not shot on a webcam because it was shot before the majority of the film. This was something I had in my head for a really long time. The idea that they like kill one one of the squad members, you know, with the bomb in there. Like they use the bomb sort of to their advantage.
Right.
I was really happy with that. I thought it was a really cool way to have someone go, and it seemed, you know, it also seemed like a good way for Waller to kind of get the final laugh, and after all the stuff that Major Victory has, you know, been kind of saying and doing.
The thing too here is that you might notice is that Rick has the baseball bat from not Major Victory, from Sportsmaster on his back. That was something that I asked Gage to do because I was like, there's a lot of Batman characters here that we'll just never use again that die. So I was like, you know, kind of the same thing with Catman, where it was like, we'll come back and do another Catman. This wouldn't be like another Sportsmaster. I don't think. Sadly, I think this is the only Sportsmaster to exist. So I don't think we'll ever see him again. He's dead. I don't remember what my original plan for it was like. Maybe that like.
Well, it was probably because you were doing Green Arrow, and yeah, his daughter is Artemis.
Right. I think his daughter was going to get the baseball bat, and that would have been a thing. But I mean, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing Green Arrow anymore. Maybe I'll talk about that if I do a commentary for that. But
this montage here was so much fun for me to edit. It was something I had in my, just sort of in the back of my head for a really long time. It was like literally like a couple sentences in the paragraph or in the script that it was just talking about how, like, in this moment, Flag is realizing and thinking back on all the people that have died in the mission, and you know how much has been lost and how little is going to be gained. And I'm a big fan of montages in movies. I think it's a really like powerful thing to include in a picture, and so I was really excited to do this. You'll notice also that when you see this group shot over and over again after everyone dies, it's slowly becoming more and more desaturated and sort of in black and white, which is supposed to sort of be indicative of what Flag is feeling at the time, of like, oh, this is actually pretty cut and dry. These are people, you know, they're not actually as expendable. They're real people who really died. And so I don't necessarily know. I think everyone kind of got it, but the idea here is that Flag is trying to decide whether or not he wants to take the Holy Grail.
Right.
And obviously he decides that he's not going to take it.
He runs straight past it, but notably he keeps
and then you have their ghosts.
The bat. Because he's... I think that since I probably won't return to that in Green Arrow, that you know, don't be surprised if I end up bringing the bat back at some point later in the series. The bat will get referenced again, I'm sure.
I'm sure it'll.
I get annoying about stuff like that. I love continuity.
I already have an idea actually for how.
Right. I think too. Well, I'm not gonna say that. That's spoilers.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, we kind of said earlier that this is sort of thought of as like sort of ground or sort of number 0, the ending of this film. You know, sort of Flag coming to sort of this realization that these are real people that he's fighting alongside. This is you know, very much setting us on our way, or sort of setting up the arc that we're going to see for the following films.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it couldn't all go as planned.
And then this is shot back on film, I think, right?
Yeah. I had spent so much time animating on my webcam that when I came back to do this scene afterwards, I was like, I struggle with it so much. I was like, how did I do this? How was I not bumping this like all the time? It sucked.
Yeah, going back to the phone after doing that for so long is challenging.
It was a struggle. Here we go, you know, back with our title drop.
And the little bullets. Big fan of the bullets. Really fought for that.
Oh, yeah.
And 2 here, another thing that got cut was I wanted to do, or I guess we both wanted to do it, but then we were like, this wouldn't really work. upon actually.
Yeah, the idea was that we were going to get the whole cast to sing "We'll Meet Again," and that was going to be the credits music. And then we both wanted to do it. What ended up happening is we didn't know if we were going to be able to get everyone to do it, and I was asking people if they would be willing to sing. Like, I wasn't, when I reach out to people to do lines, I'd just kind of be like, hey, would you maybe also be down to sing? And I got a couple yeses and I got a couple no's, and I was like, I don't think it's gonna work.
We might bring it back for something later.
Yeah, it's I think this sort of fits the vibe better, anyways.
Yeah,
a lot of the music in this film is taken from Babylon, the movie Babylon, directed by Damien Chazelle. But yeah, shout out to all the very incredible voice actors. We had a very good cast this time around.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people helped us out too. You know, we gotta shout out Crisis for getting us in touch with Forrest. Definitely, like, kind of changed that character for sure. Airborne Productions helped me with the audio a little bit. He was helping me clean up some audio because I'm no audio technician.
Mm-hmm.
Flashlight Productions did our opening titles, and he also did the thumbnail. So, you know, big shout out to those guys. And then, we do have our little final thing here. He didn't get too much fanfare when he died because it was more about that moment. You know, I didn't want to disrupt that moment, but I did give him this. I shot this footage, and I was like, well, like, I just kind of had these shots of his body, and I was like, oh, might as well use this for something. Because initially that would have just been footage that I just scrapped.
Yeah, I remember you had the idea of like, oh, what if he dies, and then we play the sad version of the Team America theme.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I heard the sad version. I was like, I've got to use this.
Yeah, and then it didn't end up fitting the moment. And then I was just as surprised as everyone else when I saw this because I didn't know that he even shot this footage.
And yeah, Major Victory will not return. And yeah, that about does it for this video. That about, you know, wraps up our commentary here. Truly a brick film that I have made. It's a special one, you know. I really was happy with how people reacted to it. Got a lot of good attention. It also, you know, I spent so long on it that it actually was coming out around the time of the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game, so I think that also probably helped boost it a little bit. But at the end here, it said, that Major Victory will not return. But as we've kind of already talked about, you know, that is not the case for the actual Suicide Squad themselves. They will be returning. Now, as to when, I can't really give you an answer. I've got a lot of other projects I'm really trying to work through. It's just not necessarily the top priority at the moment. It is something I really want to get to, though, and something that we've been talking about. It's definitely something I think will happen sooner rather than later. But, you know, it's definitely I would say probably at least another year off,
right.
At least, if not longer. So, you know, don't necessarily expect it anytime soon, but, you know, it is going something that will get made. And then, yeah, I will leave you with this. The second, you know, I don't want to give any plot details away, and I may have already said this somewhere. I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of forgotten.
Your Instagram
but
story,
maybe. But the second film, you know, just so you kind of have a hint of what we're going to be getting into in the next time, is the official title will be Suicide Squad 2: A Space Odyssey. So that's your tease. That's, you know, that's what'll be happening the next time we see the squad. But some of those characters may or may not be popping up within the LDCU.
Oh yeah.
Spoiler alert, I literally was writing a scene for someone earlier today that has a Suicide Squad character in it. But
they're everywhere.
Won't say which one, obviously, but, you know, they're returning. So I mean, do you have any closing thoughts for us, Josh?
Stay tuned. Be be patient with it too. There are a lot of Suicide Squad stuff planned. We've been talking about. We were talking about it earlier before we even did this commentary.
Oh yeah.
So if when the second one comes out, like we've been saying, maybe consider that one the real first one. That's the one where things kind of, in a lot of ways, it goes crazier, technically plot wise, than the first one, but in a lot of ways, it also will probably be a little bit more mellow. You don't have any major victory in here. So
Yeah. I mean, kind of the thing is, one thing we got kind of complimented on is that we weren't afraid to make this a story where people could die. We really went in hard on the Suicide Squad. These people are very much expendable. But not to spoil anything, obviously, but it's as I says, the ending of this film, Rick Flag sort of coming to this realization that these are real people that he is working with. That is going to set us on our path for the rest of the characters, or for the rest of the movies. And that sort of idea of like, oh yeah, it's cool because we kill the characters, that can only really take you so far narratively. So don't necessarily expect the same thing with the next one. I think the fun part about making these films is just how different they all are. I mean, in this one they're finding the Holy Grail, and then the next one they're going to space. So they're very different films. It's going to be cool. It's going to be exciting stuff. So
yeah,
hopefully you guys will still be excited for all that.
We've got other stuff coming too. We
yeah.
try to do like a year late collab between the two of us, just about,
right,
like in script wise. So we have. I don't know.
The thing is that like
to say this, but we have like Marvel projects we've been working on, like the Fantastic Four stuff mentioned earlier. So.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that the LDCU is made up of collaborators that we're all the collaborators within the LDCU are we're all good friends, and we're also me, Josh, Crisis Studios, and Green Egg Productions founded the LDCU, and the MOU was founded by us as well. And so we're always talking, we're always communicating. Seldom do projects get made that we don't really look at and talk about with each other beforehand. So, my upcoming Spider-Man series has a lot of Josh influence over it. As can be the same for most of the projects that are coming out within the LDCU. So it's we're always out here collaborating. Yeah, I think that's gonna about do it for this commentary. Definitely stay tuned. Make sure to follow this channel. So that you catch more commentaries and more trailers and all the likes. We're gonna try and make this a channel that actually has somewhat consistent content on it that you guys can check out. So yeah, until that, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.